Thanks for everyone coming. While we would always prefer to host an Islanders game in late May, as opposed to an Islanders press conference, we have a lot of confidence that at some point in the near future, Islander fans will be coming to UBS Arena to watch Islander games this time of the year. There is a championship legacy here. Thank you, Butch. I know Butch Goring is here. Thank you, Butch. There's a championship legacy here that needs to move forward, and we believe strongly that Mathieu Darche understands how to make that happen. He has been an important part of Stanley Cup success in Tampa Bay, and we see him as a team builder with a bright future for us. We're really looking forward to getting started on building something special here. Welcome, Mathieu. The stage is yours.
Thank you, John. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm actually very honored and humbled to be named General Manager and Executive Vice President of the New York Islanders. I grew up in Montreal. I'm born in '76. My first memories of watching hockey is the Islanders winning every Stanley Cup, pretty much. And I missed the Montreal winning every Stanley Cup. So that's my first memory. And obviously being from Montreal, Mike Bossy was always an idol of any kid playing hockey in Quebec. He could score from anywhere. And so that's my first memory. And even in this market, the fans are unbelievable. Like I remember... And every time I talk to John, I said, not that I want to rub it in, but in 20 and 21, I still remember that Game 6 at the Coliseum when Anthony Beauvillier scored in overtime, how loud that building was. Never mind all the beers being thrown on the ice everywhere. So it's an unbelievable fan base. I'm really, really excited. So I'd like to thank Scott Malkin, John Adeki, John Collins, the rest of the ownership group for their trust in me, welcoming me, my wife, my boys, Sam and Ben, to the Long Island area where, you've entrusted me with the hockey operations of this franchise. It's not something I take lightly. Every day my focus will be to improve the New York Islanders and make us a winning organization. I want this team to be perennial playoff team once you get in the playoffs and to go for the Stanley Cup. That's the goal. It's not always a straight line, but every single day, every decision I will make will be not for Mathieu Darche, not for anybody else, but the best thing for the New York Islanders. So I'm really excited about that. Before going forward, I also want to thank the Tampa Bay Lightning, obviously Jeff Vinik, Steve Griggs, the CEO, and obviously Julien Brisebois, who's the one that brought me in, 6 years ago. And he gave me all those responsibilities in Tampa and, got me ready for this opportunity. So I'm really, really excited to be here. And I've met a lot of people the last few days. I don't remember everybody's name. Eventually it will come, but I'm really, really excited to be here. And again, thank you, and it's an honor to be here.
It's going to be great.
Okay, we'll open with some questions here. Hands up for questions. We'll start with Andrew Gross, Newsday.
Hey, Mathieu and John, congrats. First of all, welcome. I guess the big question everyone wants to get answered is, what is your timeline for evaluation here on Patrick Roy, his staff, and making some of the changes that, not necessarily with Patrick, but, putting your stamp on this organization?
Well, first of all, Patrick will be our coach next season. We will make some changes in the coaching staff, and we want to thank John McLean and Tommy Albeline. We'll be making a change in the assistant coaches. And like I said, I got here. Obviously, every team you watch, the other teams, we're always evaluating players, staff. I just got here. I'm still trying to find where the bathrooms are. So I'll keep. That's what's going to be my focus this summer. I could say I probably talked to every single player already. I might have missed one. Sometimes with in Europe, it's tougher to get in touch with. I've met our captain Anders Lee a couple times, sat down with him, had breakfast with him. I've had dinner with other players, and I've talked to everyone. So it's still part of the evaluation. and we'll move forward. It's an exciting time with the first pick coming. But Patrick will be our coach next season.
And John called you a team builder. You know, what is your philosophy? This is, you know, obviously the first team that you're fully building, you know, as the GM. What is your philosophy in terms of team building? You know, how does maybe your style mesh with Patrick Roy's coaching style? What do you want to see on the ice from the Islanders?
I want to see a fast-paced team. And by saying fast-paced and you know, it doesn't mean we're playing offense, because you can't win if you don't defend. But playing defensive and defending are two different things. We want to attack. There's nothing worse. And I've been around for 6 years now, and I've played for 12. A team that comes at you all the time, and that's what I want. I mean, there's a lot of good players on this team. That core here has had success the last little while. It was a tougher year last year, but you still have to defend. It doesn't mean don't take this as I want to play with pace, that we don't care about defense, because if you don't defend, you know, even when the Lightning won the 2 cups, everybody thinks that, oh, it was all offense. No, the team defended better than everybody else. That's why the team won. And that's the same thing, but it doesn't mean that you weren't scoring goals. So that's what I want. And over time, we're always going to build a team towards that, but you need everything, right? It's a recipe. You need everything to build a good team. You need all aspects of it, but that's fast and high pace, intensity, compete. That's how you win in the NHL.
Ethan Sears, New York Post.
Matthew, congrats and good to meet you. How close do you feel this roster is to being a perennial playoff team and being what you just described?
Well, I think this team last year, because of various factors, I think this team could have been a playoff team. Probably should have been a playoff team. Do we have work to do to improve it? Of course we do. This summer, that's going to be my focus. I mean, obviously the focus right now is on the draft coming up, but we want to improve the team. Does it happen overnight? No. But even when you're number one in the NHL, you're trying to improve your team. Every single day, you're making decisions to increase the odds of your team winning the Stanley Cup, and that's what I'm going to do every day. So as far as timeline, you know, in hockey, sometimes you have players that play a lot better than you expected. You have others, or even prospects that, well, it takes maybe longer, so you have to be able to adjust. You have a plan. We have a plan to increase the team, to improve the team. But it's going to happen over time also. But I don't think this team is a team that can't make the playoffs. I think this team can make the playoffs.
And have you made any decisions yet on changes in Bridgeport or in the front office, things like that?
Well, in Bridgeport, yes, we will have a brand new coaching staff in Bridgeport next year. I've informed Rick Kowalski, and again, I thank him. It's you know, I'm a new person coming in. I want a new staff moving us forward. So yes, there will be changes in the coaching staff in Bridgeport.
Arthur Staple, The Athletic.
Matthew, how you doing? As far as your front office goes, you know, this was kind of a longer process, so I'm sure you've had some time to evaluate who you might want to bring in or figure out what you want to do. What's your timeline on that to kind of evaluate that aspect of it?
Well, like I said, I'm still trying to meet everyone. My focus since I got named was to sit down with Patrick. We might be both French Canadian, but first time I ever got Patrick's number was last Friday. So obviously I knew who he was. I think I knew he knew who I was. But so that was my focus, and my focus honestly was connecting with every player. I believe in that communication aspect with the players, and I can say I've spoken to almost every player, maybe one or two that I haven't been able to reach. So that was my focus right now. Do I have ideas? Yes. There's people here I know. There's a lot, Lou left a lot of good people too, so it's not like if it's have to change everything. There's a lot of strong people in the organization, but I'm going to evaluate as we go. Like I said, right now my focus was to communicate with the players. Then we have obviously the combine next week and the draft coming. But as we progress, I'll be going through all of that. And if I feel there's a need somewhere that I can bring someone that can help us, that's what I will do.
Russell Macias, New York Hockey Now.
Just for some congratulations, but just in this process when you're coming in and everything's happening so fast, what did you learn from Tampa Bay where everything's happening fast in terms of, okay, we win the cup, now the draft's in a week, whereas here you're coming in, you have the combine this week. and then everything's going to happen fast. How do you take that and now use it in an expanded role?
Well, I've obviously learned a lot. I'm proud to have worked for the Lightning. I think it's one of the top organizations in the NHL, top to bottom. The team is really aligned from top to bottom, from the ownership to the president to the GM to the coach to the players. That's how you build a strong organization. And there's a lot of things I've learned on, obviously, my role is the hockey side, but being involved in the community as far as the organization. But strictly on the hockey side is I'm trying to bring best practices. But there's a lot of good things going on here too. So it's seeing what we have here and seeing what I can bring and put it together to have a winning and an effective hockey operation department.
Stefan Rosner, Hockey News.
Hey Matthew, welcome. Just how important was your relationship with the AHL team in Syracuse, and what's your goals for Bridgeport? And also, do you plan on having a post-draft camp for the prospects?
Well, if you look at my stats, I spent a lot more time in the AHL than I did in the NHL, so I know the AHL very well. I believe in developing in a winning environment. It doesn't mean you're going to win every year, because the AHL is one of the toughest places to coach, because you have your injuries, you have the NHL injuries. There's various factors. Teams trade draft picks. You don't have as many prospects, but I believe in developing in a winning environment. So the AHL will definitely be a focus for me, because that's your players have to be ready. Because let's face it, every team needs players called up during the year. So yes, we will have a development camp after the draft. I think it's important. That's your first touch on the player. You draft a player, you show him what it is to be a professional, because they all think the kids, they all think they're ready to play pro when they get to the NHL. All right, that's what it means to be strong for the NHL. You know, you show them what the standards are in the gym, what the standards are in the NHL, and it's your first touch on them. And those development camp, it's not about playing scrimmages and doing practices like a season. It's about development. It's about, eventually, as we move forward, we want to hire skating coaches, skill coaches to work with our players at those camp in the AHL during the season with our kids that are on various teams across. Easier in North America than send guys to Europe, but that's player development is a huge part of developing a winning organization.
Joe Pantorno, AM New York.
Matthew, congratulations to you. How important is transparency, whether it's with your players, your staff, even the fan base?
Well, with the players, I've chatted with every one of them. Like, it's a communication. At the end of the day, I'm the general manager. I will make the decisions, but I like input. From my staff, I want input. I don't want it to be a one-man show. I'm going to rely, and I always believe you hire strong people, let them do their job. So, because as a general manager, you can't be running the amateur department. You can't be running the pro department. You can't be running, you have to put the right people in place and let them do their job. And as far as the media and the fans, I want to communicate as much as possible. And if I'm almost making a trade, will I say it? Probably not. That's the reality of it. But I'm going to be, like I told the players, every player you can ask them, I said, listen, I'm open for communication. I'm always going to be honest with you. Whether it's a hard conversation or not, I'm going to be honest. That's my way of being with people. And same thing with the media. And the fans. The fans are passionate, so they want to know everything. I get it, but I still have to do my job the best way possible. But I'll be as transparent as I can. And, that's the way I'm gonna work.
Peter Schwartz, WFAN.
Hi, Matthew. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You've mentioned the word community a few times already. Just your thoughts from afar, coming to Long Island, what you thought about the community here, and how excited are you to, as you kind of touched on before, to get into the community and meet the fan base and everybody else on Long Island?
Well, it's a passionate fan base. Like I told you, I've seen it in the playoffs. It's outstanding. There's a history with this team. My wife and I love the New York area. We're from Montreal. We used to come. It's a 5-6 hour drive. We used to come down a lot to New York. I'm looking forward to moving on Long Island. My wife's already on house hunting, and our house is already up for sale in Tampa. So we're excited. We want to get involved in the community. And when I spoke with John and everything, if there's things with, the community outreach with the team, both my wife and I, my family, will be involved.
Kevin Marr, News 12.
Matthew, you come from a franchise that has had sustained success in this league. What things that you were a part of in Tampa, that worked in Tampa, need to come here?
I think everybody being aligned, to be honest with you, everybody on the same page, and I like the style of play that we play. It's at one point you have to play the style of play that the players you have, but I want to play fast. I want to defend well. I want us to develop well. I want us to have success in the AHL. It's when I say it's vertically integrated, that's what it is, because you can't just have a good NHL team and I don't care about the AHL. Like that's your pipeline. You have to move forward. Player development. That's where I think the Tampa Bay Lightning's done an unbelievable job. If you look over the years, like I think last year Tampa had in the top 2 lines not one first-round pick. So yes, you like first-round picks, especially, I won't lie, I like the first overall. But the reality of it, you have to develop your players. You have to be, you have to work with them to help them achieve their goal. We're going to give them all the resources to develop and be good players. At the end of the day, a big part of it is on the player also. You can give them all the resources. So that's why you want character people. High character people tend to overachieve. So we're going to give them the resources. At the end of the day, they have to use them to become better hockey players, and that's how we're going to develop the team.
Neil, best Newsday.
I just wanted to ask you a little bit more about your decision about Patrick. Sorry. Was it a no-brainer? Was it something you had to hear from him first? I mean, that was your first major decision. Why did you decide to keep him? And what went into that? You did say, the team probably should have been a playoff team last year. Just to give us more insight into that.
Well, first of all, I think Patrick's a winner. He's had success coaching. When he came here the first year, he did have success. I didn't know Patrick. Obviously, I know a lot of people in the hockey world. I've been on the phone a lot, and I went to meet with him last weekend just to get to know him more, and I'm extremely comfortable and excited to be working with him. I know he's passionate. He works hard. And I just decided that was my decision to make changes in the coaching staff. And now Patrick and I will work together to fill the assistant coach's position.
Ethan Sears, New York Post.
Matthew, are there any restrictions on you as far as being at the draft table or anything like that, just having been in, I assume, Tampa scouting meetings?
No, there's not, because when this process started, they've locked me out pretty quick. So, and Tampa doesn't have a first-round pick too. So, no, honestly, I couldn't say anything better from Julien Brisebois. How supportive he's been through all this. Even the last few years, he's been outstanding. When I called him to tell him. I was almost emotional. When someone says almost emotional, that means they were. So, honestly, he's been extremely supportive, and he only wants the best for me, and I only want the best for the Lightning. But I told him, next time we play in a conference final, it's going to be the other way around. So,
and just what is your overall approach to having the number 1 pick going to be? Are you open to having conversations about trading it? How do you kind of see the next month going on that end?
First of all, I'm very fortunate to come in with the first overall pick. Not very often you get a job and the first thing you have to do is pick the best player in the draft. So, no, listen, I expect us to make the pick at the end of the month here, well, next month. You have to do your due diligence. Anybody that calls, you have to listen, but someone would really have to knock my socks off to trade that pick, because we're going to get a special player, and but I'm going to do my due diligence, but I expect us to be picking at the end of June.
Andrew Gross, Newsday.
Hey, John, I was just wondering, you mentioned the attributes you liked in Matthew. What made him stand out maybe over, we all saw some of the other candidates, some of them were Hall of Famers that you talked to. What attributes led you, to give Matthew his first shot as an NHL GM and maybe not go the more established route?
So, I think you're seeing a lot of it right here. I think it's the total package. Matthew is he's been considered. He's been in the mix for some of these jobs, so he's been thinking about this for a long time. I can tell you that when the ownership group sort of talked about the qualities that we wanted inside of our organization, right? As our organization is evolving, we wanted someone who was really collaborative, but who was really a strong hockey leader. and was going to build a culture that would be a fit with what the community wants from us, what our business partners want from us, and ultimately what the fans want from us, right? And obviously the first thing is winning. But I think we never considered a line. We always looked at Mathieu like he was the best of the first-time candidates because he was so well prepared in terms of his playing career, which, by the way, playing 400, 500 games in the minors in addition to his NHL career, that's a passionate hockey person. I think the fact that he went from there to have a real corporate job, right? Not VP of Sales and Marketing with Delmar, one of our big partners, hopefully bigger partners now. Right?
That's the plan.
I think that was really an interesting perspective. And then the work that he did at RDS, right? He's obviously a polished communicator. And then he got picked in, he was picked by Julian to sort of replace Julian in an organization that has had enormous success in building the culture, right? From Vinnick and then Steve Yzerman and then Todd Lewicki, and then through a transition to Julian and Steve Griggs, and still kind of keep being successful and keep pushing the envelope. And I think when we got to know and really analyze the job and the scope of responsibilities that Mathieu had, he really was unique in that Julian was great to Mathieu and Mathieu was great to Julian. He had a broader scope of the GM's responsibilities, and I think most AGMs when you're looking at making that jump. And so for that reason, as well as, I think we all felt the more time you spend with Mathieu, the more you like Mathieu, right? Like it's authentic. And so for a lot of those reasons, he quickly, was there. I mean, the process was, to Neil's point, was a longer process. But I don't think that was ever doubt about whether Mathieu was going to be our guy or be the right guy. I think some of that was we were, as an organization, moving on from, our hockey CEO, who's a Hall of Famer. And in any organization, not just a hockey organization, that's a good time to kind of reflect and talk about how you want to change things. So we have new partners. Oliver Harmon is here today. He's come in the last year. We had an organizational change on the business side. Nick Pizzatello, who's been with Scott and John for 10 years. He's now taken over as COO. We knew that we wanted to do more in the community. John tells us all the time there's more to do there. There's more opportunity. So I think it was a total package. And ultimately, I think we're all incredibly excited about, Mathieu joining us. And we're committed to making sure that we give him every resource to be successful, including, a direct report into Scott Malkin. Ethan, I know you were going to ask that question. Including a direct, we all read you. Including a direct report into Scott, which I think is really important, which signifies sort of the growing relationship that he and Scott will have. And then really we all want to contribute as part of the ownership group, and that'll be, part of the governance that Scott will put in among his partners. So.
Go Russ. For John first, just with the salary cap expanding the way it is rapidly over the next, however many seasons, is there excitement for you to have a new GM, to have that extra space to build the team in his vision?
Well, I'll just say the first line that Mathieu said to me when he, did the social media, called Delmar, called the season ticket holder. He said, "Look, I want you guys to make more money so I can spend more money."
It's always a goal.
And just for you, Mathieu, I know you just got here, but has there been any thoughts or any even light conversation with players that are pending free agents about anything of that nature?
Yes, I've been in touch. Obviously, I just got here. Like I said, my focus was to get in touch with every player. But I'm already in discussions with most of the agents on the players. We have a few players that are RFAs. We have a few players that are UFAs. And I'll work through that process in the next few weeks.
Bill Ballou, Worcester Bulletin.
Matt, how are you?
Yeah, a long time no see.
Yes. Anyway, have you been back to Worcester since your year there?
One time for a hockey tournament for my son.
That's it. Do you plan to be going there this year at all?
At one point, usually I was doing the same thing in Tampa. Our East Coast League affiliate was in Orlando. I try to get at least to one game a year, but we'll be in touch with those guys, and it's important. That's all part of the integration, because you lose a lot of players in the HL to injuries, to called up, so you need your East Coast Hockey League affiliate to help you in that matter also.
So you think it's going to be a significant part of the whole pipeline from Worcester up to New York in one way or another?
Well, for sure. I mean, anywhere, like, it's all part of our organization. So you need players everywhere. And, you've seen it around the league. There's some guys that come out of the East Coast Hockey League. I remember in Tampa, Yanni Gourde, I think, started in the East Coast League at one point. He played some games. And David Desharnais, who I played with in Montreal, and Yaroslav Halak. So there's guys sometimes. So why not? Listen, in Soccer, there's 32 teams now. Who knows if there's going to be more in the coming years. So you need to find your players. So he did play in Worcester. Then Tampa stole him.
We'll go back to Joe Pantorno, AM New York.
Matthew, understanding that this week has been a whirlwind, but have you gotten an update on Bo Horvat at all?
Yes, Bo came back from the World Championship. We played outstanding. I only had rave review from the staff over there. He's got a little ankle injury, nothing serious, 4 to 6 weeks. He's already rehabbing, so there's nothing serious in that. Like, there's no concerns whatsoever. So, is it a type of thing that maybe in the playoffs he would have tried? Because I think Bo, you have to tell him you're not playing, because he's not going to try and say, I'm hurt. He probably is going to try to play through everything. But no, we have no concerns with Bo's injury.
Alan Creda, AP.
Matthew, welcome to Long Island. You mentioned growing up in Montreal, of course, the legacy of the Canadians, cup after cup after cup. The Islanders followed the 4 cups of the late 70s with their own 4 and the 19 straight playoff series victories. What does it mean to join the organization and that dynasty legacy that is so near and dear to the hearts of Long Islanders?
It's awesome, because this brand is strong around the NHL. Like, it's a storied franchise, and like I said, I got to meet Butch Goring this morning, which I've seen him on the press box before, but I've never talked to him. And like I said, Mike Bossy, Denis Potvin, Brian Trottier, guys like that. Those are the guys I remember from when I played. But having said that, we want to create our own legacy also. We want to create our own success, because it's. And I've seen in Montreal at one point when I played there, like, we're talking about the past, which is outstanding, and those guys deserve every accolade that they get, as they should. But we want to create our own success moving forward.
Brian Compton, NHL.com.
Matt, congratulations.
Thank you.
This may have been asked already. I apologize. You mentioned the coaching staff in Bridgeport. Is there going to be a new staff overseeing the coaches in terms of, like, are you going to have a new assistant GM or anything like that?
Well, that's all being evaluated. I mean, there's a lot of good people here. Right now, my focus was focusing on the coaches, because a lot of teams are looking for coaches at this time of year, so you don't want to be too late on that. But the whole structure of how we work with development in the HL will be enhanced.
Any other questions? Oh, yeah. Jerry Beach.
Hey, John, kind of piggyback on one of your comments before. How does this hire kind of fit into your plan to raise the profile of the team, as well as magnify the experience at UBS in an area with so many teams and so many entertainment options?
Well, I think, Scott often talks about it took us 10 years to get to this point. And obviously we're sitting in a beautiful UBS arena. We got a great practice facility that was remodeled recently, and will continue to get remodeled as we move through it. I just think that there's so much opportunity for us. I haven't grown up in New York and lived on Long Island, and my kids played hockey and other sports here. Like, we should be hockey on Long Island is a great market, and we should be that first touch point, and we should build the relationship from there. And wherever they go, if they want to be Ranger fans, or they want to be Devils fans, or they want to be Bruins fans, they can do that if they'd like. But we want to have that first relationship, and we want to keep it. I think the thing that, as an ownership group, Scott, John, Oliver, myself, Dewey Shea, who's not here today, believe is, we have the opportunity to be stewards of an incredible brand that is really a community asset. And we know that there's more to do, that there are deeper connections to make, that we can play a much more important part. And it's not a criticism of anything that's happened in the past. We just kind of think like we're at the launch stage right now. So that's what we want to do. And I think Mathieu, as the hockey leader, look, the whole relationship, the emotional connection between the fan base and hockey that's the essence of the brand. That's what it's all about. And so he is, we talk about him as a builder. We do think he's a builder. He is the guy that is going to give us the opportunity to achieve all the things that we think we can achieve in this market from a brand standpoint, from a revenue standpoint, and from just an emotional connection standpoint. So this was a really important and big hire. No pressure, though.
No problem.
Back to Andrew Gross Newsday.
Hey, Mathieu. Sorry, one more. Obviously, you've been around the league, working in Tampa, but is there any more work you need to do to establish relationships and connections to the other GMs around the league now that you're GM of your own franchise here?
Well, I'm very fortunate in Tampa. I was traveling with the team everywhere. I joke I spend more time with Julian than I did with my wife the last 6 years. But I've met basically every GM, and it's that every one of them has reached out to me. I haven't had time to talk to every one of them, but some of them were AGMs like me that moved up. So I have a relationship. There's actually, most of them I have some sort of relationship with, so that's not a concern for me. I'm excited to work with them. Some I've known from my playing days. Some I've known from the last few years. Even in the summer, you go to the AHL meetings in Hilton Head, and then, next thing you know, the one got promoted. So, I'm really excited to work because it's, Joanne always tells me there's only 32 of those jobs, so I'm honored to be one of the 32.
Going to Rachel, NewYorkIslanders.com.
Mathieu, welcome and congratulations. Earlier, John touched on your business background, and of course, you chose to go into the business field after your playing days, studying it in college at McGill. Where did your passion and interest for the business field really start?
But if I'm honest, when I was in college, I never thought I'd play pro hockey because I played in Canadian college. I actually played in prep school here in Connecticut for a couple of years. Went back to McGill, and that's where I met my wife. I told her, I'm not a hockey player. I'm just a student that plays hockey. Next thing you know, she followed me for 12 years. So I always said, I worked in the business world, which I thought I would do. There was a gap of 12 years of where I played hockey, the game that I love. And when I retired, I was fortunate enough. I did some work. I retired in Montreal, so being a local guy, I did some work on RDS in Montreal, which was great. And then Delmar came up to me at an event and asked to talk to me, and they offered me to come in an industry I knew nothing about in custom brokerage and freight forwarding. And next thing you know, it was an awesome opportunity. I got to travel to China, to Vietnam, to India, to Bangladesh, to Mexico City. So it was, even in the business world, you learn things that can apply to your job because you're managing people, you're managing budgets, you're managing expectation, you're managing sales goals or things like that. So it might not be sports, but you still learn managerial skills. So like I said, every kid in Montreal wants to play hockey, but at one point your kid in college is not necessarily a pipeline for the NHL. I had a great year, and I felt I moved to the business world after because that's what I thought I would do after, and I always wanted to be in the business of sports, and then here I am today.
Thank you, Mathieu. Thank you, John. We're going to move the table out of the way. We're going to have a photo opportunity, and then we'll have a couple separate one-on-ones. But thank you, everyone, for coming. Exciting day, and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.